Even though I may seem young to some people, I have read hundreds of pages, watched thousands of hours of podcasts and documentary on successful people. These are just some of the ideologies and hacks the 1% knows, but the 99.9% don't know. Rich people aren't lucky. I truly believe if you distributed the wealth of the world to everyone in 10 years' time, people who were rich prior to that would most likely be rich 10 years later. It's funny because I don't remember the time I started playing golf, but I was extremely young, probably 8 years old. Why I got into golf was mainly because I wanted to be around the rich people, successful people. And then I just loved how Tiger Woods was. He was very, very influential in my life when I was younger. They got to a stage where I started playing golf, I liked it, and I got a coach. This coach was okay, a local coach from the golf club. And yes, I dropped my handicap a bit, but not at the rate I wanted it to. I'll get some good shots, I'll get some bad shots, but a lot more bad shots than good shots. But I kept practicing, I was getting better. And then I realized that maybe I need to invest into a better coach. So I got a professional coach. Yes, it's more expensive, but I was getting a lot better. The funny thing about golf is that even with a slight different angle of attack or just the way your club is facing, could really change the dispersion of your shots. If you hit a little bit on the toe, a little bit off the heel, a little bit right center, a little bit low center, it changed the ball completely. And one thing I noticed about this golf coach, that every time I went to this professional golf coach, he would change the slightest of thing, like something so minute, but it will change my next 100 shots. The dispersion so much closer. I had so much more control over my ball. I was able to draw the ball, but deliberately. I was able to reduce the draw deliberately, just by a slight tweak the coach made. Even though this is a true story, I was listening to a podcast called My First Million. If you haven't listened to that podcast, it's amazing. I listen to it more or less every day. But Sean was talking about how Tony Robinson said that you don't realize that even though, let's say, you're striving to be successful, which I know you are, that's why you're in this video, it may seem that all your efforts are just left, right, none of it is actually hitting the target. You're only one switch away, literally one switch, and you hit the target. So the first shift I realized that you need to make in life to be successful is shift from hard work to smart work. I know that especially if you come from a minority background, you see your parents working 4 jobs, 6 jobs, always working, literally all the time, they're always working, but they're not as successful as other people. I would say, especially my mom, she's extremely hardworking, but she's not a multi-millionaire. Why is it that all the immigrants, they work so hard? If you clock the amount of hours they clock per week, probably more than people who are in IB, investment banking, but they don't even get up to 1/3 on the salary of an analyst in investment banking. Why is this? The two main factors are what you work on and who you work on that project with. You don't understand, there's some niche, there's some markets that you can put thousands of hours, but you're capped at maybe £2,000 per month, $500,000 per year. That may be alright to some people, but when you hit that ceiling, don't be complaining because that's the market you're in. Additionally, if you work with some mediocre people, your business will always be mediocre. Yes, there are 10x employees, but there are 10x co-founders. This is very, very important. The goal is not to work as hard as you possibly can. The goal is to work as efficient and productive as you can. A great entrepreneur, a great speaker, a great role model to everyone is Naval, and he said, you want to find something that feels like play to you, but work to others. This is very nuanced, but I truly believe that you could work on something and eventually it could be like fun to you. I'm not telling you right now to try and monetize your hobbies. That may not be it. For example, my hobby may not be collecting data, but I could research it and then eventually it's like fun to me. I love it. That's just my type of personality. Once I invest time into anything, I fall in love with it. I love business stuff. Anything to do with business and stocks, I just love it. Was I like this when I was younger? Yes, maybe not the stock part, but eventually I started loving stocks. I was always into business. Everything about business. This is why when I'm creating these videos, doing some research, reading books about entrepreneurs and founders and great CEOs, it's not like work to me because I just love doing this thing. I love business. I'm a nerd for business. So that's why I'm able to monetize it and make it into a money machine for me. Even this video you're watching, I love making YouTube videos. I spend hundreds of hours, thousands of hours of my life watching YouTube videos. And then one day I was like, I love watching YouTube videos. Why can't I do this myself? This may seem like work to people. You have to do some research. We may just have to be a knowledgeable person, just have the confidence to speak on camera and not care that I don't have a trim today, but be able to still be confident to speak to, if it's 10 people that watch this videos, 100 people or 1,000 people, you never know. This is just something I have a passion for. I just love doing. If it feels like work to other but play to you, that's a sweet spot. The next shift is hanging out with money. For you to obtain an athletic body, you must think like an athlete, then work like an athlete, and then you will become an athlete. Same thing with money. You need to think like you are successful, act like you are successful, and do the work to become successful. I'm not saying because every rich person has a Rolex, you should just use a credit card to buy a Rolex. That's not what I'm saying. It's about the habits they have. My previous video, I speak about the mindsets of the 1%, of the multi-millionaires. Soon come, there will be a trillionaire. So you can watch that video. But it's about the habits that these successful people have that you want to obtain and practice to then turn into your lifestyle. Even like being around successful people. Why is it so important? Because you learn to see the habits, the mannerism, how they think, the ideology, how they treat money, how they respect money. If they don't respect money, you get to see all of this. That's why it's so important to be around people you want to become, or people who have the exact same goal as you to become successful and wealthy. So the question, how do you hang around with successful people? First thing is, find at least 4, 3, 5 people who have similar goals to you, who want to be as successful like you do, who has the same ambition as you do. If it's to create a group chat, live with them, or go to dinners with them, make sure you're always around them. When I went to military school, I was always around people who had the same dream of joining the armed forces. So we were all shaping ourselves into soldiers without us even knowing. You need to be in a community, in an incubator, just like Y Combinator. Why are there so many unicorns that come out of Y Combinator? Because they're all together trying to become better, competing. I spoke to a random guy on LinkedIn. I was like, why did this school, which was literally in the trenches, have so many successful people? He told me that his headmaster used to put everyone's GCSE, A-level, mock result or actual result on a leaderboard, and it built a competitive environment where everyone just wanted to become better than each other, which then increased the average grade. An average grade in that school was 3 A's or 3 B's in A-level, which is crazy, out of like 300 students. You need to be in a community, in an environment where everyone's striving to become the best version of it. The second one's getting a mentor. What most people do, they ask people to become the mentors. You need to speak to people who have already done what you want to do and ask them a specific question. For example, I have this dilemma with A and B. How would you tackle this dilemma? You have to ask them specific questions. Don't just waste their time, because at the end of the day, they're not here to baby spoon you. They're here to give you advice that actually changes the trajectory of your life. They find pleasure in helping people. Random advice. No, they want to give specific advice for a specific scenario. Then they will see a result. Then they'll give you more advice. Don't just take the time. Ask them for specific advice for a specific situation. Do it. Then follow up with them saying that you've done that and that was the outcome, and repeat that cycle. I promise you, people would love to be your mentor. Not just asking random questions. Oh, how did you get rich? No. You're wasting their time. Now you need to change your diet. If you listen to this video, all these successful people, be like, what do you read? What do you listen to? What articles do you read? What books do you read? And this will all feed into your brain, which will then change how you think. It's very, very important to read. You don't understand how easy it is for us now. We have people on YouTube we can just watch who were successful. You have people who are in a room with multi-billionaires and having a discussion. You're able to listen to that discussion on podcast. This was not possible back in the days. You could not even be in the room of these successful people. But now we have this opportunity. Consume all this knowledge. Knowledge is power. The Bible says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. You don't want to lack any type of knowledge. You want to acquire every knowledge as possible to help you in this journey of life, this journey of being an entrepreneur, this journey of being successful, this journey of creating generational wealth. So I listen to My First Million. All they talk about is different business idea. Every episode, different business idea. Until I got to a stage where even if I'm in a restaurant, I'm trying to do back of the napkin maths to see how much revenue this company is making, to see what I would change if I owned this restaurant. Everywhere I go, I'm always trying to think, how does this person make money? How can I make money? How can I change what they're doing? That came by just listening to My First Million all the time and listening different type of business ideas. I literally have around 500 business ideas on my notes on my phone, because I'm always thinking, my brain is always thinking, and that's all by just listening to My First Million. When you read these documentaries of people, you realize that it is doable, it is possible. Some of them, yes, are different, like Elon Musk. But a lot of them are exactly like you. They're not even smarter than you. That's a funny thing. They're not even more hardworking than you. They just tried and they learned from their failures. This is why it's so important to read books on entrepreneurs, to listen to podcasts, documentary on great successful people. I'm not from America, but the third shift was going from small swings to fat pitches. A common mistake is most people take the first opportunity that comes to them, take the first job offer, the first business opportunity, the first idea that comes to their mind. They chase shiny object. That's a lot of people nowadays, especially with online creators. Oh, people are doing dropshipping, let me do that. People are doing SMMA, let me do that. People are doing AI, let me do that. People are doing clips, let me do that. People are doing info products, let me do that. You need to focus on one idea and get away from that shiny object syndrome. For Warren Buffett, he missed the whole .com boom, but all he knew was Geico and Coca-Cola. What I'm trying to say is that you cannot be an expert at everything, but pick one thing and be the best at that. Be the most knowledgeable at that. Don't try to do everything. You can get rich in any industry. Most industry, as I said, if the market size or the market opportunity is big, but there's so many different ways to get rich. And you only need to get rich once, then you're rich. You don't need to do it multiple times, so don't try to do everything. Speak of one thing. Thing is, you probably don't know what's the best pitch or what's the fattest pitch. My advice is to, the first 10 years of your life, work with the greatest people, work with the most ambitious people, work in places where you know they'll challenge you mentally, into emerging markets or exciting fields or the next boom, for example AI. This would then train your instincts and your gut. When you next see a market opportunity, you will choose it. You'll swing for that pitch because you've worked with people and you've seen how people have dealt with different foreign policies, different tariffs rules. This is life for 10 years. That being said, that's only if you're an astute person. You pay attention to all these details. One example of these fat pitches, the .com boom, when everyone started using the iPhone, when everyone started using commercial airlines, when everyone's using AI, when everyone started post on YouTube, why everyone's creating a personal brand, why is everyone doing a podcast. These are all shifts you need to start paying extra attention to. The other thing about fat pitches is you have to swing hard. When you see a fat pitch, swing for your life, because you may only get 2 of this in your whole 80 years of living. So swing as hard when you see these fat pitches. Winners double down when the opportunity is there. If you're in a boxing fight and you see someone's wobbling, you have to kill them. You have to destroy them because it's your only opportunity. If you're playing football and the opposition just got a red card, there's an opportunity to be ruthless. So you have to be ruthless when you see these opportunities. If that means you just spoke to someone that had a great idea, you might have to fly out to see them next day. If there's an investor who's giving you a chance, you might have to literally miss work to see them. You have to take this opportunity. This is so important. The intensity has to be extremely high. I'm not saying hard work, but I'm saying intensity is the strategy. Trust me. Once you find an opportunity, don't wait. Attack it viciously. Just attack it wholeheartedly. Be devoted to it. You have to have that warrior and killer mindset. Funny, because if you see Elon Musk, especially Bill Gates looks like such a nice person. You read his biography, he was a killer. Richard Branson was ruthless. Steve Jobs was ruthless. I'm not talking about being an unmoral person, no. I'm talking about in terms of their business, they're so intense, laser focused. You have to have it for you to be successful.